So if you look at it, trends and factors about ASEAN is that the most of the social responsibility is done by multinational big companies, and there is also within Southeast Asia a whole large number of family-owned and family-controlled businesses. And these family-controlled businesses actually influences the business according to the values of the families. As well as we have huge number of SMEs, small and medium-sized enterprises, who are trying to catch up. But the small and medium-sized enterprises have a problem in the sense that they have lack of knowledge, lack of tools. In Singapore, when we did a survey on why they don't do CSR, the response was the government never told them to do it. They have no time, no money, don't know how to do it. And then you also find that NGOs and the media, they have not got really what's the meaning of CSR. But on the other hand, positively, the stock exchanges and the regulators are taking a great lead. The first one is that CSR is another word for checkbook philanthropy. That's not true. So it's about voluntary philanthropy. No, I think it is. So a lot of people say you can donate money, contribute. It's good. I mean, if you got money to contribute, please do that. But I think it's more how you do business. So I think this is, in fact, in the ISO 26000, which is the new global standard, so the philanthropy is only mentioned in passing as a good thing. It's not considered as part of social responsibility. The second one is that it's a Western concept. You know, these Westerners, they've got crazy ideas, and this is one of the crazy ideas. But I like to debunk and say that actually it is not. If you look at the old Japanese philosophy called Sampai Yoshi, which is the tradition of corporate philosophy, GBD, it relies on good communication and trust between enterprise workers and the community. The guy who founded this concept, his company still runs as Itochu. And you find that he actually wrote that, say, when you go abroad to do business, it is most important always to keep in mind to make sure the garments you're selling satisfy customers, think and act customers first, never aim for short-term profit, and never lose faith in God. This is quite Christian value also. It's also Filipino value, I'm sure. It's also the Chinese value of yin and yang. So this is universal. This is not Western. The other thing is, myth is that you ask whether it's all about brochures and it's a cover-up for PR. Okay? I think I like to quote the example of a company in UK called Innocence. They do smoothies, beautiful drinks. And they actually write in their report very clear about their drinks, very popular, they get a premium, but they also tell the consumers where they get their sources of food from. Organic, pay farmers the right price, right values, and they also write a carbon footprint, and they have things which tell you exactly throughout the process where there's all the carbon footprint and things. And this is exactly Chit is here. She will tell you that she also does similar things. So it's not just the monopoly of the British. They might have learned from us. And the other one is that this idea that this CSR is all about just nothing to do with making money. But what has happened is the fact shows that a few years ago, the UN Global Compact Accenture did a survey. And in their surveys in 2010, it came out quite clearly that the leadership of companies and enterprises believe very strongly that CSR is important, sustainability is important, as the next biggest thing. So having given this introduction, I'd like to say that CSR is today considered first and foremost long-term strategy. It's how you do your business. So it's how you do your business, how you make your profits, not what happens after you make your profits. I think how you make it. It's also aligning your business strategy and operations with universal values, the values which I will talk to you later, as well as strategic communication and planning. It's not just PR. And because of all this, you have to have a fundamental change in the relationships and corporate culture that we work on. One of the classic examples of these companies that do this, if I have a few minutes, is to talk about Tata's, Tata Group of India. You get a Filipino, but I thought I'd just be a bit neutral, take it out South Asian. They started, for example, their steel mill in 1907. And the founder actually said that he wrote to his son and said, okay, when you build the steel mill, make sure the roads are wide, you have plenty of schools, you have parks, good housing, build mosques, churches and temples. And he says that you must make sure, because his answer was that the real purpose of an industrial organization must be to improve the lives of the people who work for you and the community you operate in. Run your business efficiently, make money so that you can improve lives. So because of that value, in 1907 they started, by 1912 they were giving profit sharing bonus to their staff, they were giving women maternity benefits, they had provident funds started for their employees in 1920. In Singapore, the law only came in 1955, and I think the Indian law was only in 1952. So they were way ahead. They also did, when law was to work 12 hours a day in the UK and India, the company, because of their values, reduced the working hours to 8 hours a day. So they have been a pioneer in things. And today they still exist, and people trust the brand and everything they do. So I think this is a very key factor in social responsibility. And there are many names for this CSR. We can call it all kinds of names. They use the word same, but different. This is a very Thai word. I like this statement because when I went as a tourist in Thailand, there's this boy who was trying to sell me postcards, and he says, "So buy this, it's very good. It's just 200 baht, you get all these things." The next boy came and he was trying to sell me similar postcard, but he says 300 baht. So I asked him, why? You're same. Why yours 300, his is 200? So the little boy said, same but different. It's because he said photo the same but paper different, printing different, my photo better, so you pay more. So similarly, there are a lot of names, they are all similar but in some sense different. So the recommendation for researchers would be to set focus yet globally relevant agenda. The world is interconnected. We are all going to suffer from climate change effect. It is not just the industrialized countries, everybody, and every business has to contribute to it. And we also need to just not talk about efficient resources, we have to translate it to achieve a bigger audience. And part of this thing is also that we will have to look at what is locally important, but we have to relate it to the big ones. I think it's no use talking about what is the fad in the US or Europe without forgetting what is basic in the Philippines. And we will have to, and there's lots of studies on the state of CSR. I think we have to go from beyond that and look at what are our drivers for CSR. I found that most of the research is they have a model, and then you try and compare where you are on the model. I think we just need to break through. And the other point is that when we use these rose-tinted glasses, is that many of the research are funded by corporations and write case studies of corporations to tell you how good they are, how wonderful they are. Creating wealth is a great thing. We need to create a creation of wealth, but we also need to create wealth responsibly. So I think even the good ones, the ones that do great challenges, had difficulties. I think we like to know not your PR thing, but what were the big challenges? What are the problems you face? How did you overcome? How did you win your shareholders to spend their dividends on CSR? How do you get your middle managers of the whole organization engaged in this project? I think this is what we need to look at. And you also have to measure the impact. And it's good to use global standards for measurements of it. And can you also talk about, is there a link between CSR and share prices? In the article, in the Harvard Business Review article on sustainability paragraph, he uses the term that there is a premium for companies that actually is responsible. They do better. And we also need to do a critical analysis, because sometimes it's a fact. We don't challenge the status quo. We don't ask the difficult questions. We need to ask the unpleasant questions. We need to challenge, and that is sometimes not done enough. So I would just skip on to say that in terms of challenging the status quo, we will need to look at the emerging business models. The emerging business models and their potential. I'm just giving an example of the bottom of the pyramid. And also, whether we could actually do successful innovation. Some of the social entrepreneurship ideas have been very successful. Okay, and social enterprises are enterprises with a social objective, but yet they have to be commercially successful in order to fulfill their social objectives. So they are businesses that have. And also finally, we also need to, I use the word challenge things. This idea is actually taken from this book, latest book, What Matters Now by Gary Hamel. His latest book, he actually challenges some of these things. And so I think we also need the idea of a CSR research network actually will fulfill this important need of aligning our research agenda, and also we will have more efficient. At least as when researchers, when we talk to each other, we will actually meet many of these things. And as a person who's running the ASEAN network, we need this. We need these good case studies. We need good research, which would not only build up a repository of knowledge, but also real practice. And I think the other point is also to communicate. We have great research. I think it's stored somewhere in libraries. But how do we translate it into accessible tools so that business leaders can also use those research, media can use it, civil society can use it, and we can avoid storing the libraries which the converted looks at it. I think it's great to use this material to reach out to them. This is a little commercial finally to say that we run the ASEAN CSR network. We can help because we want to be a platform for networking and exchange. We want to be a repository of CSR knowledge. So we would like to do that, and I think within ASEAN it actually uplifts everything. And we also want to build the capacity of CSR advocates. One of the biggest strengths is that you need good people. If you've got good people, you're cheaper. How to make good people better people? And that's where the challenge is for business schools and associations to do that. And we also need to provide thought leadership. So the stakeholders in the region get better understanding. We need to have experts that can also seek opportunities. I think there are many opportunities for us. Working with trade missions, Europe, they all want to. Then there is also a great demand for professors to teach CSR and sustainability. There are many who claim they're experts, but there are many, not many. I mean, like Jesus Christ said, the harvest is ripe, but the laborers are few. And many false prophets and false teachers will emerge because it's business opportunity. I don't know about Philippines, but in Singapore, now every other guy is claiming they're a CSR expert. And I don't like, I told Tony that I don't like the word. I never said I'm an expert. Because I say I have some expertise, but I'm never an expert. Because the more I learn, the more I realize how little I know. And it is quite amazing that there are so many experts around who have never done these things. And I think the other point is this. I think governments are more and more realizing they cannot solve all the world's problems. They cannot solve the problems. In the past, it's very easy. Just raise taxes and pass laws, and everybody follows. Today, in the international law, the businesses will move to places where the taxes are cheaper, the laws doesn't affect them. So using regulatory and tax doesn't work. But stock exchanges also have to cooperate. And I think this is happening. And there is the fact that we have an ASEAN CSR network is also acknowledgement that things doesn't work. I want to also say there are opportunities. The opportunities include things like which can drive real innovation. And that's what we cannot have the same of the old things. We need to have the research to say what is the innovation, what is the dramatic change that can bring about. So I would say there are global business, international repeated challenges. The institutions, can we be better than that? And on that note, I will just end with this quote to say that we do not inherit the earth from our ancestors, we actually go away from our children. So we have to decide what sort of earth we want to give to our children, better than we took or worse than we have. If we all work to give our children a better life, then we must also give them a better earth. On that note, thank you.